Haven't you ever wondered why you can never get the footage from the Pocket 2 to look quite the way you want it? Whatever you do, however you grade it, it always has this video look. Cinema cameras, on the other hand, they have a very distinctive look. They have this natural glow and contrast that is so nice and unique. It's what's referred to as the film look. This is not cinema camera, far from it. But could we make this little camera look like a cinema camera? It's a big ask, I'll give you that. But in this video, I'm gonna show you how to turn the video looking footage from the DJI Pocket 2 into stunning film looking footage with the help of the Freewell Glow Mist Filters. If you're after the cinematic film look in digital cameras, well, the highlights are always too bright, the contrast seems to always be too high, and to make matters worse, the sharpening in general is definitely way too much. The devil is in the details, the saying goes, and in video, whether you use high-end cameras, DSLR, mirrorless, a smartphone or a Pocket 2, there is no getting away from this horrible video look. ND filters help a bit in reducing this effect, but with these little glow mist filters, the footage coming out of the Pocket 2 looks amazing. Essentially, you get to sort of replicate the way cinema cameras capture images. These diffusion filters from Freewell help lowering the contrast and highlights, softening the images, and getting rid of the horrible video look. You end up with this really nice smoky look, very much like cinema cameras, which in my opinion, is fantastic. For me, it's also very important to be able to use these filters not just indoors in a controlled environment, but outdoors. So stay tuned until the end of the video where I'll show you a little trick or hack to be able to use these filters with NDs and also the standard and wide-angle lenses. Probably not the way Freewell intended these filters to be used, but it works, and it means that you can use these filters in any environment or situation, which at the end of the day, that's what you want. So what are these filters? Well, these filters are called, in general terms, diffusion filters, and different brands call them in a different way. For instance, Tiffen calls theirs Black Promise, Freewell calls them Glow Mist, and so on. But these filters, they've been around for a very long time, and you can see them in a lot of TV series and films since the beginning of time. And this is because cinema cameras have a natural glow that video cameras don't have. So the only way to replicate that is by using these diffusion filters. So basically what you are is introducing a little bit of imperfection into what digital cameras are perfect these days, too perfect. The signal is just way too good, too sharp and too defined. And DOPs love to use these filters not only outdoors but also indoors, and especially when you have lights or practicals, because these filters help in recreating this glowing effect, what's called halation, that you don't get with digital cameras. The way we perceive the world around us is more like cinema cameras and not so much like digital cameras. Perfect example is when you are in a pub or a bar or in a nightclub and you look in the distance or in the background to any lights, bulbs or light sources. Usually you see them as a glow in the distance and not so much like defined light sources as digital cameras see them. So having these filters is really nice to recreate this natural halation effect or atmospheric effect that you get on cinema cameras, but you just never get in digital cameras. And not only this, but they also soften the skin and even out wrinkles, and that's also why DOPs love to use them, especially when the talent in front of the camera is a little bit old. These filters are perfect. And they come in various different strengths, going up from 1/8 all the way up to 2. But Freewell only does 1/8 and 1/4, but it's probably as much as you need for the Pocket 2. The Pocket 2 is not a cinema camera, let's be honest, let's face it, and let's not pretend that this camera can do what it cannot do. But these filters are amazing and the results that you get are incredible. It turns the video look that you get from the Pocket 2 into something that resembles a cinema look. The contrast is lower, the highlights are less aggressive, the skin tones are much softer, and let's take this for a spin and let's see how good these filters really are, so that it's not me telling you, but it's you actually seeing it in action. The cool thing about these filters is not so much the generic footage as you have seen, but it's when there is someone in the frame and the look that you get, which is so distinctive. So whether you are in a controlled lighting environment or vlogging, you can clearly see that there is a difference. For instance, in this shot, if you go from the standard look with NDs to an eighth and a quarter, you can clearly see that there is a difference. Now, which look you like the best, that's very much entirely up to each individual. I cannot tell you which one is the best look. I have my favorite look, but it also depends on the lighting conditions and what it is that you want to shoot. So sometimes you might be using a quarter or an eighth. Personally, I think the eighth is a bit too subtle, and I would be leaning most of the times towards the quarter, but that's entirely my personal choice. And you might have a very different opinion. You might not like these filters, so that's also a possibility. But you can clearly see that there is a difference. The image looks softer, in my opinion. And let's not forget, you're not losing detail. You're losing sharpness, but not detail. Let's not confuse sharpness and detail. All the detail is still there. You just don't have the sharpness that you get with the video look. So I want to find out whether I can use these filters, not just indoors, but outdoors. I personally like to have the flexibility to be able to use whatever filters I have on either indoor setup or an outdoor setup. Now, indoors is very simple, very easy, and that's what the manufacturer probably intended these filters to be used most of the time. It's a control environment, very simple. You pop it on the Pocket 2 and off you go. Set up the camera manually, stick to the 180-degree rule for shutter, and you'll be fine. But I like to be able to use them outdoors, and believe it or not, there is a way you can use it. Here I have the two Glow Mist filters, and I have the standard ND set Bright Day 4K for the Pocket 2, 8, 16, 32 and 64. And the way you do it is you get the filter and you get the back of the filter. This is the end or the side that you would normally attach to the Pocket 2, but instead of attaching it to the Pocket 2, you attach it to the front of the ND. There you go. And that's quite stable, and that can then go onto the Pocket 2. You turn it on and there you go. So, and that's quite stable. It's not going anywhere. This is really, really good. And it works on all four filters with this particular set of NDs. We move on now to the wide angle lens and NDs from Freewell. And this is interesting, okay? If you try and mount the filters the same way, it's just not gonna happen, okay? It won't accept it, okay? It's the polarized. You can feel the magnet rejecting it, okay? What it does is you basically accepts back to back, okay? You can see how that was very, very strong magnet. This is very secure, okay? Now you end up with the front of the filter. The front of the filter is not designed to be mounted onto the Pocket 2, it's the back of the filter. Believe it or not, you can attach the front of this filter to the Pocket 2. Okay, it won't be the strongest magnet, but it will work. Look, okay, there you go, attached, and it works fine. You know, you have no issues whatsoever. It works with all lenses, all filters. Now, this is where things get a little bit tricky. Okay, this is supposed to be a hack. This is not how the manufacturer intended these filters to be used for. So it attaches, but the magnetism is not very strong. Okay, so look. Perfect example, okay? I'm just gonna shake it and it fell off, okay? Now, if you do this in a normal slow movement, you're probably gonna be totally fine, no problem whatsoever. I've used it outdoors everywhere. I've never had the lens falling. I even had it on a pole, extending out on a pier with the river below, and it was fine. But I was doing very slow movements and there was no strong wind. There was a little bit of a breeze, but not strong wind. If you have a strong wind, so you're going to be shaking it or potentially panning or tilting very fast, test it before you try, because there is a good chance that it's going to fall off and you're going to lose it. I don't want to be responsible. This is just a hack to use it outdoors with a wide angle lens. If in doubt, stick it to the ND and use the standard lens. That is not going to fall. It's not going anywhere and it's rock solid. As you can see, the look and feel that you get from these filters is really unique. I absolutely love it, but I can understand that it might not be for everybody. But you cannot deny the fact that the darks are lifted and they look less contrasty and you see more information in them, and that the highlights are reduced and the overall sharpness of the image, it's softened. And that's without losing detail, which is the very important element or aspect of it. Entirely up to each individual. I love the quarter filter, although I can see myself using sometimes the eighth, but again, it depends on the circumstances and the environment. Anyway, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you're new to the channel or you just stumble upon it, consider subscribing and hitting the bell so that you get notifications when any new video comes up. I leave a couple of videos that might be of your interest at the end of this video. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next video.